The first time the man came into the gas station, I didn't think anything was strange. It was 1:14 in the morning. I remember the exact time because I was standing behind the counter, staring at the clock and wondering how much longer I had to work. My shift ended at 6. 5 more hours. The station was in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by fields and a few miles of forest. During the day it was busy. Trucks stopped for fuel. Families bought snacks. Farmers came in for coffee. But after midnight, the place became almost completely empty. That night it was raining. Not heavily, just a steady, cold rain that covered the windows with a thin layer of water. I was 23 years old and had been working there for about 8 months. The night shift was usually boring. I cleaned the coffee machine, checked the shelves, counted cigarettes, watched videos on my phone when there were no customers. At 1:14 a.m., a dark blue sedan pulled up to pump number 6. The car was old, maybe 15 years old. The headlights stayed on. A man got out. He was probably in his 40s. Gray jacket, dark pants. Nothing unusual. He walked into the store. "Evening," I said. He nodded. "Coffee." I pointed toward the machine. "Fresh one was made about 20 minutes ago." He poured himself a cup. Then he walked around the store. He bought coffee and a bottle of water. Nothing else. He paid with cash. As he reached the door, he stopped. "Do you know if Route 17 is still open?" I looked at him. "Yeah, as far as I know." He nodded. "Thanks." Then he left. I watched him get into the sedan. The car pulled away. I forgot about him until exactly 1 hour later. 2:14 a.m. The same blue sedan pulled into pump number 6. I recognized it immediately. Same car, same headlights, same man. He walked into the store. "Evening." I stared at him. Evening." He went straight to the coffee machine. "Coffee." I looked at him. "Didn't you already stop here?" The man smiled slightly. "No." I laughed. "Yeah, you did." He looked confused. "I don't think so. You were here about an hour ago." He stared at me. Then he shook his head. "Sorry. You've got me confused with someone else." I wanted to argue, but I didn't. Maybe there was another blue sedan. Maybe I was tired. He paid. Before leaving, he asked the same question. "Is Route 17 still open?" I felt a strange chill. "Yes." He nodded. "Thanks." He left. I watched his car disappear down the road. I looked at the clock. 2:18. For the next hour, nothing happened. Then, at exactly 3:14, the blue sedan returned. Pump 6. Same headlights. Same man. Same gray jacket. He walked inside. "Evening." I didn't answer immediately. He looked at me. "Everything okay?" I said, "You've been here twice already." He frowned. "No, I haven't." "Yes, you have." He laughed. "Are you sure you're okay?" I felt embarrassed. Maybe I really was exhausted. Maybe the night shift was getting to me. The man poured his coffee. Then he looked at me. "What's your name?" "Ryan." "Ryan." He smiled. "Nice to meet you. You don't remember me?" He shook his head. "No." I watched him leave. I didn't look away from the window until his car disappeared. At 3:20, I called my manager. He answered half asleep. "What's up?" I explained what was happening. There was silence. Then he laughed. "Ryan, you need to sleep more." "I'm serious. Maybe someone just looks like him." "Same car." "Could be." "Same pump." "Coincidence." "Same question." He stopped laughing. "What question?" "About Route 17. There was a pause. "That's weird." "Yeah." My manager told me to lock the doors if I felt unsafe. Then he hung up. At 4:14, the sedan came back. This time I was ready. I stood behind the counter watching the parking lot. The blue sedan pulled in. Pump 6. The driver got out. But he didn't enter the store immediately. He stood beside the car, looking at the road. Then he looked directly at me through the window. He walked inside. I said nothing. He approached the counter. "Coffee." I didn't move. "Why do you keep coming here?" He looked confused. "What?" "You've been here 3 times." He smiled. I'm sorry, man. I think you're mistaken. No. I pointed at the clock. Every hour. He stared at the clock. 4:14. Then he looked back at me. His expression changed. What time is it? 4:14. He looked genuinely frightened. No. He stepped backward. What's wrong? I asked. He didn't answer. He walked out of the store. I watched him get into the car. But he didn't drive away. He sat there. For almost 5 minutes. Then the car started moving. It left the parking lot. I watched the taillights disappear. I thought the strange situation was finally over. Then my phone rang. It was my manager. Ryan. His voice sounded serious. Yeah. Did you just have a customer? The guy in the blue sedan? Yes. Yeah. My manager was silent. Then he said, "Don't let him inside again." My stomach tightened. Why? Because I checked the cameras. And Ryan. He took a breath. The first time that car came in tonight. I waited. There was no driver. I laughed nervously. What? The camera shows the car arriving. It shows the car. Yes. And nobody gets out. I stopped smiling. What do you mean? I mean the driver's door opens. Okay. But nobody steps out. I looked toward the parking lot. The rain was still falling. My manager continued. Then the camera inside shows the man walking into the store. I said nothing. But there is no footage of him entering through the door. That's impossible. I know. He told me to check the security footage myself. I pulled up the cameras. The parking lot footage showed the blue sedan arriving at 1:14. The driver's door opened. Then, nothing. No person. The door simply closed. The car remained there for several seconds. Then the screen changed. The man was suddenly inside the store, standing near the coffee machine. I stared at the screen. Ryan. My manager was still on the phone. Yeah. Are you there? Yeah. Lock the doors. I did. At 5:14, the sedan returned. I didn't see it arrive. 1 second, the parking lot was empty. The next second, it was there. Pump 6. The driver's door was open. I grabbed the phone. He's back. My manager didn't answer. Hello. Nothing. The call had ended. I locked the register, turned off the lights near the windows, and waited. The man walked toward the store. I could see him through the glass. He reached the door, tried the handle. Locked. He looked at me. I didn't move. He knocked. Once, twice, then 3 times. I stayed behind the counter. He knocked again. Then he spoke through the glass. Please. His voice sounded different now. Not calm. Desperate. Please let me in. I shook my head. He looked behind himself. Then back at me. Ryan. I froze. I had never told him my name. How do you know my name? He didn't answer. Instead, he said, Don't let me leave. I stepped closer. What? He looked terrified. Whatever happens. He pressed his hand against the glass. Don't let me get back in the car. I didn't understand. He looked over his shoulder again. There was nobody in the parking lot. Then the headlights of the sedan turned on. The man jumped. No. He backed away from the door. The car started. The engine revved. The man ran toward the road. I watched in horror as he disappeared into the darkness. The sedan followed him. I ran to the phone, called 911. I told them about the car, the man, the strange situation. The operator asked for the location. I gave it. Then she asked, When did this happen? Just now. She was silent. Sir, are you sure? Yes. Because we received a call from your station about an hour ago. I felt my stomach drop. What? She continued. A man reported that someone was following him. Who? He didn't give a name. Was it the man in the blue car? There was a pause. Then, Sir. She sounded confused. The caller said he was driving a blue sedan. I looked at the parking lot. The sedan was gone. The operator asked, Is he still there? No. Did you see where he went? Toward Route 17. She was silent again. Then she said something I'll never forget. "Sir, Route 17 has been closed since 11:30 tonight." I stared at the road. "Why?" "There was a fatal accident." I couldn't speak. "Where?" "About 7 miles from your station." The operator continued. "A blue sedan was involved." I dropped the phone. I looked at the clock. 5:27. I felt sick. The man had asked about Route 17 every hour. Maybe he wasn't trying to find out if the road was open. Maybe he was trying to remember. Maybe he didn't know what had happened. At 5:40, police arrived. They searched the road. They searched the station. They checked the cameras. They found nothing. No blue sedan. No man. Nothing. But one officer asked me a strange question. "Did the man ever tell you his name?" "No." "Did you notice anything unusual about him?" I told him everything. The gray jacket. The coffee. The repeated visits. The question about Route 17. The officer looked at the other officer. Then he said, "That's strange." "What?" He showed me a photograph. It was from the accident report. A blue sedan. Destroyed front end. The photograph had been taken at 11:46 p.m. I recognized the car immediately. It was the same one. Same scratches on the hood. Same broken taillight. Same license plate. I felt cold. "When did the driver die?" The officer looked at the report. 11:51 p.m. 5 minutes before midnight. I stared at the photograph. "But I saw him at 1:14. The officer didn't answer. And 2:14. Nothing. 3:14. Still nothing. 4:14. The officer finally said, "Maybe you were mistaken." But I knew I wasn't. I had spoken to him. I had watched him drink coffee. I had seen him stand outside the door. And I knew he had said my name. The officer left. The sun began to rise. The rain stopped. My shift ended at 6. I went home. I didn't sleep. The next day I quit. I never went back to that station. For weeks I tried to convince myself it had been exhaustion. Stress. A strange coincidence. Anything. Then 3 months later I received a letter. There was no return address. Inside was a single photograph. It was a picture of the gas station. Taken at night. The parking lot was empty. Except for one car. A blue sedan. Parked at pump 6. On the back of the photograph someone had written, "You shouldn't have opened the door." I never opened the door. That's the part one couldn't understand. I kept the doors locked. I never let him inside. So who wrote the message? I threw the photograph away. I changed my phone number. I moved to another city. And eventually, I stopped thinking about it. Until 2 years later. I was driving home late at night. It was raining. I stopped at a gas station. I walked inside. The clerk looked at me. "Evening." I nodded. Then I noticed the clock. 1:14 a.m. I froze. Behind the counter was a small security monitor. On it, I saw the parking lot. And there it was. A blue sedan. Pump 6. I turned toward the window. The car wasn't actually there. I looked back at the monitor. It was still there. The driver's door opened. Nobody got out. Then the screen flickered. For just a second, I saw the inside of the car. Someone was sitting in the driver's seat. The man in the gray jacket. He was staring directly at the camera. Then the screen went black. I left the station without saying a word. I drove home. That night I couldn't sleep. 2:14 my phone rang. Unknown number. I didn't answer. It stopped. At 3:14 it rang again. Same number. I didn't answer. 4:14. Again. I turned the phone off. To 5:14. The phone turned itself back on. One new voicemail. I didn't want to listen. But I did. There was static. Then a man's voice. Quiet. Almost a whisper. "Ryan." I froze. The voice continued. "You left me there." Then 3 seconds of silence. And finally, "Now I'm looking for someone else." The message ended. I never found out who the man was looking for. But there is one thing I know. Every year on the same night I receive one call. 5:14 a.m. No matter where I live. No matter what phone I use. The number is always different. But the time never changes. 5:14. I have never answered. I don't think I ever will. Because sometimes, when the phone rings, I can hear rain in the background. And very faintly, the sound of a car engine. Waiting.